Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 1973 for the 23rd of October, also known as the Situation Report or the SITREP. So we're going to start off with the Kherson front, and we will move all the way up to the Kursk front, the Kursk front. And over at the Kherson front, we have fighting being reported in the Dnieper direction. We do not know where exactly the fighting is, so I'm just going to plant it here in the islands. And shelling is being reported over at Kemeshani, Kherson, or Kherson, or Kupiansk. So that's all for this area. There's also shelling being reported at Zolota Balka, but not important per se. We move into the Zaporizhia front. So this is Zaporizhia, and this is the Zaporizhia front, and there's fighting mainly over in the Orikhiv sector. At the Orikhiv sector, there is fighting reported over at Novodanilivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Yeah, but we do not much things to know about this. So that's all for this area. Over at the Donetsk front at the Velika Novosilka sector. So this is Velika Novosilka, and this is the sector. So let's zoom in. So there is shelling reported at Temerivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Over on the eastern part of the Velika Novosilka, there is fighting reported at Zolota Neva as well as towards Novoukrenka. So this is the usual now. This is becoming a regular thing that we have the fighting in this area here. So yeah, but tentatively doesn't feel like something major. There's no geolocation, video footages or whatnot coming out from this area here. So probably just active skirmishes. Over in the Constantinivka, Bohov direction. I still haven't decided what to call this sector. So anyway, there is geolocation of Russian forces moving closer and closer to Bohov, and the distance now is really close from the settlement is merely around 1.7 kilometers around there. So it's getting really close. And the fighting is still ongoing in this area. The Russians also continue their battles and offensive actions over towards Yelazavetivka, Katerinivka, Antonivka, as well as Konstantinivka. So we can zoom in a bit on this area here, since this is the prime problem for the Ukrainians right now. Ukrainians have a heavy fortification around here. Of course, they will be defending the settlement. They will be defending the bunds over there, and then there's a forest around here. The Russians have now reached this sector, or all these forests. Ukrainians may have all these fortifications along the tree line as well, whereas the Russians have all these forests. So this is the current situation. The Ukrainians may have this tree line as well. So this is the current tactical setup that we are looking at right now. And the distance, as mentioned, from the settlement to the geolocated point is 1.7 kilometers. So yeah, you can play your war game in your head how this is going to play out and how the Russians should be attacking. But this looks like a really cool map. If we use this to play a computer game, like a real-time strategy game, this is going to be fun. But in real life, it's not going to be so fun. So anyway, yeah, because you will just die. Then then it's game over. Then you do not know what happened next. Then that will be depressing. There is airstrike in the north of Bohov. So that's all. Over in the Kurakhove sector, so yeah, I cannot zoom in that much. So this is Kurakhove, and the Russians are fighting in the region of Kurakhove. They are fighting towards Dalny, which is over here, and fighting is reported at Hostre and Kurakhivka. So the Russians are definitely expanding their control around this area here, but progress is slightly slower as expected because of the heavy fortifications around here, and also that this doesn't look tactically sound. I think the Russians will definitely want to expand their front line a bit more, maybe up to this line, so that they can have more options. Because if not, then this is just a frontal attack. This is going to be suicidal. Over in the Hirnyk region, so this is Hirnyk. In the Hirnyk region, the Russian forces continue to push around this area. Russian forces have geolocated entered into Selydovka, as well as on the western part of Izmailivka. They are creating some ball sacks around there. Fighting is reported at Kremina, Balka, Zoriane, Horstrey and Kurakhove, which I already mentioned just now. So this is the current situation right now. You can see the potential for pincer operations all over the place. So let's continue to wait and see how this continue to develop. There's no fighting reported at Hirnyk, surprisingly. So that's all from this area here. Over in the Selydove region, Russian forces have captured half of Selydove. In the latest information, even the Ukrainian mapping have acknowledged the Russian advances. So, in fact, the Ukrainian mapping is the most advanced in terms of the front line, where the Russians have taken huge amount of grounds, and they have also conceded all the outskirts of the city. In the south and the southeast of Selydove, everything outside of the city is now considered to have been taken by the Russian forces. And the Russians have taken the entire eastern part of Selydove. And there is also even rumors about Russian forces attacking into Vishneve. So this is a rumor, cannot confirm yet. There is also geolocation of Russian forces in the area of in the northwest of Sukharini as they continue to push towards Novodimitrivka. So this is significant frontline change, and it's very funny because I mentioned just before this entire water bag broke. This piñata just broke into all the sweets. I was saying that this is going to take a long time. Yeah, if they defend it like they defend Toretsk, and then immediately the Ukrainians just give up fighting. So yeah, it's actually my fault. The commentators curse. So that's the current situation. And if we zoom in a bit, you can see that the Russians have arrived at the high-rise zone, taking all of these suburbs, and they have even penetrated into the center, capturing some of the high-rise, planting a flag to show that they are there. And so the entire eastern part is entirely gone. The Russians is likely going to continue to put pressure and capture all the high-rise building because this is more tactically advantageous. I think the low-rise in the south of the Solona River, this southern part is going to be much easier to move through for the Russians. So and mainly because also the Russians can potentially attack from other angles right now. So I think given the situation that is developing, you can see that the front line now looking like this. The Russians can attack from the north, from the south, attacking towards Vishneve, cutting off the retreat route. This area can cut out the other retreat route. Ukrainians are going to be routed at this rate because of the flanking operations. Not so much about the frontal attack. Of course, the frontal attack puts the pressure on the Ukrainians, but the flanking operations is going to threaten the encirclement, and this is going to encourage the Ukrainians to just quickly bounce from this position. So yeah, the battle of Selydove is likely going to end very, very suddenly, which is a surprise to me. Yeah, so at the Pokrovsk sector, in the Pokrovsk front, Russian forces are fighting at Krasnaya Krutia. The Russian Defense Ministry announced the capture of Mykolaiivka. The fighting is reported at Promin, Milhorad, Sukia, as well as Lysivka. So the Ukrainian counterattack towards Krasnaya Krutia, this counterattack is no longer happening. It's now only the Russians now doing their counterattack. So this is the current situation. If I zoom in, you can see a bit clearer. So Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the capture of Mykolaiivka. The Russians are holding the defense around here after the Ukrainians were counterattacking, but the Russians it seems like they have stopped, and then now the Russians are now going to push. So this is the current tactical situation over at this sector, and so that's all from this area here in the Pokrovsk sector. In the northern front of the Pokrovsk front, there is only fighting reported at Novotoretsk and towards Myrolibivka, and that is all. And we move on to the New York front. And the New York front, there is only fighting reported at Toretsk, Skibinivka, Nelipivka, as well as Sukapalka. So once again, the New York front went into the backstage. Nobody cares about them. They are now in the shadows. So let's wait and see as the exciting things is all happening over in the Donetsk and the Pokrovsk front. So yeah, no, but take turn. You must take turn. Over in the Bakhmut front, at the Bakhmut front, we have fighting reported towards Bilahora, Suposhki, Chasivya, and Kurakhove. So that's about it. There's still location of I think there's a Lancet strike on a M113, so APC, but that's about that's all. It's not a really active thing happening around here. I feel like the Chasivya offensive that was suddenly broke out feels like a scam. I kind of don't trust it. That the Russians really want to push. As I keep saying that Chasivya doesn't feel like it makes sense. Over at the Siversk front, Russian forces attacked Vasyukivka, Zvenivka towards Siversk, and fighting is reported at Serbianka. Serbianka, something weird happened. The Russian Defense Ministry announced the capture of Serbianka. They say that they have liberated Serbianka, and yeah, so far there is no corroboration of this information. We're going to leave this icon here and just going to wait and see how long it takes to corroborate. So important to note, the Russian Defense Ministry also previously announced the capture of Vimka and Ivano-Darivka, and yeah, arguably Ivano-Darivka can somewhat be confirmed. There was geolocation for that, but the Russians continue to hold the position is unknown. They also announced the capture of Vimka, which didn't happen, and they also announced the capture of Verkhovno-Kayamsky, which we also not sure if it happened. So now we have Serbianka. So it's either that the front line indeed has advanced significant in the favor of the Russians, or the Russian Defense Ministry is full of shit. So we do not know. So yeah, so let's see. So far it's looking like it's full of shit. But we move on away from Siversk front over at the Kremina front. So this is the Kremina front. At the Kremina front, the Russian forces fight at Terny, Torsk, as well as Dibrova. Geolocation of airstrike in the region or in the north of Terny was geolocated. So that's about it. Nothing special about here. Over in the Sviatove front, there is fighting reported in the Mekievka region. So not much about this, other than it's across the river, over on the western bank of the Zderebets River. Over in the northern side, fighting is reported at Vishneve, Peshotrevneve, and Zeleny High. So it seems like there is some major push in this direction towards Borova by the Russians. So this this definitely something that we should look out for, because this is a bit concentrated. You can see all the fighting is reported in the same region: Vishneve, Zeleny High, Peshotrevneve, and Borova is here. So there's also shelling along the settlements along the Oskil River. Pidliman was shelled, Novo Platonivka is shelled, Bohuslavka is shelled. So it might be a case where the Russians are indeed going to push for Borova in the second shock. Because previously the capture or the entering of Kuliakivka is already a major shock. Maybe the Russians want to go for a double shock, to deny both crossings. So the Russians are here right now. Maybe they want to go for this and to take the other crossing at Horokovaka. So let's see how this continue to develop. Over in the Pischani front, Russian forces are, other than the shelling along the river settlements, which I already mentioned, they fight in the region of Pischani towards Lozova, and fighting is reported at Kuliakivka. So far, still no updates regarding the latest situation at Kuliakivka, so we just have to continue to wait. Further up north, from this region at the Kupiansk front, fighting is only reported in the Stepova Novoselivka region. And it's pretty significant because we have geolocation of Russian forces in the area of Stepova Novoselivka, which means that Russian forces have captured and secured everything west of Kaislivka and Kutlyarivka. So pretty significant changes around here. But yeah, this area is definitely going to collapse because of the siege starting towards Kupiansk, this is currently happening. The Russians are pushing for Kupiansk. Although there's no reports of fighting around that region, the Russians are probably regrouping around Sinkivka and are trying to make a double push to fight at Kupiansk. And because once that happens, see, if there is only 2 crossings around here, one crossing is at Kupiansk, another crossing is at Senkove. The Russians have already denied the crossing at Senkove because of the fighting at Kurakhove. And if the Russians now start to push towards Kupiansk and take Kupiansk, or at least fight there, then the entire Ukrainian force that is defending in the Kupiansk front will be encircled operationally. And they will have to escape by establishing pontoon crossings in order to retreat. And yeah, and if they don't retreat, then they will be fighting in the encirclement, which arguably is doable as long as you can build up pontoon crossings and send in supplies, reinforcements, and whatnot. So it's not all gone yet because the river is still pretty long. From Kupiansk to Senkove is pretty far. We are talking about distance around from one bridge to another bridge. It's around 20 over kilometers. So it's a very, very long distance. So it's not the end of the world yet. But the Ukrainians definitely can still put in pontoon crossings and continue to establish the fighting around this area here, continue to support it. So, but the Russians definitely is going to make it very hard by doing this maneuver. But it's going to take some time because the Russians sometimes they just take their own sweet time. Over in the Kharkiv front, at the Kharkiv front, shelling is reported at Kotivka, very random. And then fighting is reported at Voschansk, Taike, as well as Lipsy. Take this as just skirmishes. The Russians are not pushing, so that's all. And we move into the Kursk front. At the Kursk front, Russian forces still continuing their counterattack in this region. There is no fighting reported at Novi Put. In the Kloshkovo sector, there's no fighting reported there. So it is the main salient right here. Russians are attacking at Plekhovo, in the region of Kalinov, Novo-Ivanovka, what is this? I forgot the name. Zeleny Shai, and yeah, I forgot the name. Let's zoom in. So over at the western flank. So as the western flank, the Russian forces are fighting at Novo-Ivanovka, Zeleny Shai, Zeleny Klin towards Svertiklovo and Darino. Ukrainian forces counterattack over at Pokrovsk, Zeleny Klin, as well as Nizhny Klin, as well as Zeleny Shai. So you can see that if you look at the arrows, it looks pretty clear that the Russians, the Ukrainians are trying to, they're trying to push against this potential envelopment, and while the Russians are now trying to push towards Svertiklovo, so trying to do a flanking to the rear, I guess. So the Ukrainians are instead trying to push out in this area. They're trying to counterattack and put pressure, whereas the Russians are trying to flank. So that's interesting. So we shall see how this continue to play out. Very interesting tactical situation around here. There is fighting reported in this area due to the this probably due to the geolocation in the southeast of Kalinov. Russian forces are reported to be attacking around this area here, and there is clashes at Plekhovo. Ukrainian forces are allegedly counterattacking, but Russians are also allegedly attacking. So the clashes at Plekhovo continues. So, but that's about it. There's nothing else in the Kursk front. And oh yeah, there is one more. Geolocation of a missile strike on Ukrainian position at Stadikovo, but not important, generally speaking, in terms of the macro scale of things. So anyway, that's it. So this is the wrap or the summary for the day of 973 for the 23rd of October. Press the like button. I really, I just not just saying, press the like button, subscribe, especially if you are not subscribed, and I want to reach 100,000 by the end of the year. So help me. And I will see you guys in the next update.